One thing there was conflict on was definitely when it came to your view of life, of what you wanted to do. So as a young teenager, it's where I found probably one of the biggest cultural conflicts came in, is how do you navigate a social life of a teenager or a young adult.
Not only that, we embraced Canberra as our city, and proudly so, we could still keep our wonderful values and traditions back from the country of origin, which we are proud of. The greatest challenge is to keep the culture and traditional values, because some of our values are so beautiful that you want to keep it with them and you would like them to continue into the next generation.
As a teenager and as an adolescent, some of my parents' cultural views, religious views started to inform the level to which I could integrate with the people who were becoming my friends. There were many other rules, many other pre-existing notions about what was right that I had to wrestle with. And this is a generational thing. You know, it also didn't just start with them. It started with their parents and their grandparents. Like, how far do you want to go, right?
Intergenerational gap, it's in all communities in the world, but it takes a different shape in migrant families, and for obvious reasons. When people migrate from their home country to a different country for security or safety, they leave everything, but they do carry their own values, perceptions. And when the children in these families are born or raised in a different country, in the new country, there's obviously a gap between these two generations. And if the communication is not strong between these two generations, there is not a safe space in the families. And it's applicable to both parents and the children. And that's where the mental health issues could arise. 1 in 7 children aged 4 to 17 have mental health issues in Australia in any given year, and 1 in 5 in young group of people, they have serious or intense psychological stress. But we don't know what percentage of this number come from migrant background or come from culturally and linguistically diverse background. From our work in last few years, we have realized that there could be a significant portion of young children who do suffer from mental health issues, and that may stem from intergenerational gaps, the lack of communication between parents and children in migrant families. The migrant parents, they do carry their own values, and sometimes they do carry their own trauma. And that could be passed on to the second generation, and that's where the intergenerational trauma comes. And the differences between cultural values between the parent, the migrant parent, and the children who are being raised in Australia, that could make also an impact on the mental health of both cohorts, the parents and children. The consequences could be really, really bad. Like sometimes the children, they stop trusting their parents, they stop relying on their parents, they start looking for support somewhere else because they do not feel that there is a safe space in their own house, and the parents, they have no idea what's happening. The psychologists, the counselors who work for our organization, they have informed us that they do get to see many clients from young group of people. But the problem is that when the parents, they bring their children to counselors, if they do not come from culturally, linguistically diverse backgrounds, the counselors or the psychologists, they fail to understand the real cause. So the issues actually, they get bigger, the problems, they get bigger. There's a big gap of mental health awareness in migrant families. Since we started our journey in Canberra a few years back, we conducted our first mental well-being session. It was about adolescent mental health, and it was for the culturally, linguistically, diverse people. We did realize that there's not only lack of awareness about adolescent mental health in migrant families, they do not know where to seek help. We need to work with these migrant families, and we need to help them regarding their mental well-being, mental health, because as like physical health, mental health is real as well. And if you don't treat it in the right time, you can suffer from mental illness. And children, they're the future generation. They will build the nation. They will build the country. If we cannot minimize these intergenerational gaps between the parents and the children, we won't be able to build a stronger nation. At the end, we need to understand that communication is the key here. We do all have our problems, our own sufferings, own trauma. But if we don't communicate with each other, we actually build a wall. And if the wall gets bigger, stronger, it's going to be very difficult to break the wall and help both ends.
Or if you said something that your parents didn't agree with, it was always seen as something naughty. It was seen as a threat to their dominance as the parents versus child. And so a lot of the time, I really just, if I didn't agree with them, I'd just give up, they won. And we'd move to the next conflict. You're always going to need someone to talk to and understand how to navigate the two cultures.
We have to come to the level of children, win them over first, right, by your action, and then start talking to them to bring to the level what you want them to be, or at least help them to be.
Psychotherapy can be immensely helpful in some contexts. I also think what can be limiting about that lens of looking at these cultural tensions in families. A, if you're looking at it from a clinical lens. B, if you're looking at it from just a monocultural lens. You miss out on all the layers that are contributing to someone feeling the way that they do, right?
We need to target all these issues when we look at mental health policies or strategies, because mental health is for all. When you're trying to help the families coming from linguistically diverse backgrounds, you need to understand individual profile, because it's not like that one fits all, one size fits all. Every individual coming from a migrant background has his or her own profile. So when you're developing mental health policy or strategies, you need to assess the risk of that individual based on that person's pre-migration experiences, pre-migration cultural exposures, and also post-migration resettlement experiences, and considering the health factor, cultural factor, language factor. So there are like many factors contributing to that individual's mental health. Mental health policies, mental health strategies developed by the policymakers need to address all these issues so that we can ensure that outcome that we all believe in, mental health for all.
If we do not take care of the issues now, we will be at the verge of just feeling irreversibly sad. We find a very, very, sympathetic approach whenever we approach any of the issue being faced by multicultural communities. Certainly, we should just look towards the gaps, and I'm sure that we can fill those gaps.
If we keep having these conversations in a binary lens, I think it's going to create greater distance between people who love one another but don't necessarily know how to best connect with them, right? I think incredibly important that we move away from a reductive or a judgmental lens when approaching these issues, and fostering empathy, that inclusivity of different views will make the relationships a lot richer at the end of the day. Yeah.
When you want to help someone, Firstly, you need to provide a safe platform, for the person so that the person can talk without the fear of being judged. That's the first step. And then when you are listening to someone's story, you need to listen with empathy. That's the second step. You need to understand where is this person coming from. And the third step is listen with attention. We should not just be listening for, listening's sake or, just because we have to do it. So if we have right policies in the right places, and if we are able to see things through multicultural lens, if we have empathy, if we believe in a community for all, we will be able to help these people. We need to remember this is our country and mental health is for all.